Let's talk some sports, baby.
Taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by Jones.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today, and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
All right, guys, let's move on over to the NBA with a playoff preview starting in the Eastern Conference. Milwaukee and Toronto draw the Magic and Nets, respectively, and figure to cruise, so we're going to go ahead and focus on those middle matchups today. The 6-seed 76ers are set to take on the 3-seed Celtics. Now, Philly did win all 3 regular season meetings, but now they won't have Ben Simmons. He is lost for the season due to a knee injury, so let's go ahead and start there, Drink. How do you see this one playing out?
That's about as long as that series is gonna last, right there. Look, here's the deal. Look, this series going. I think it's gonna go 5. We talked about this earlier. I do think Philly will get a game. I think Embiid good for a game. Make sure he has that Popeye spicy chicken sandwich on deck. You know what it is. I feel like, and I said this earlier, if this was a normal playoff system, right? I think Philly would be in the arena of getting swept. Let me tell you why. In a normal playoff, right, you got to deal with all this media and deal with the fans and deal with all this extra insulated stuff that we don't, like, go step by step with. We just so focused on the on-court product. Being in the bubble, the good thing about the bubble is you don't have to deal with none of that extra, like, stuff. Fans, media to a certain point, but everything is downsized. You could just focus on just playing basketball. It's more focused on playing basketball. You don't got to travel. Your travel is from the court to the hotel, from the hotel back to the court, whatever you're doing inside the bubble. It's not getting on planes. It's not getting on, buses, none of that. Now, what is interesting is once these playoffs start with the teams that's leaving the bubble, now they're bringing in family members or people that can be verified as a long-time friend of the family or significant other. Call it a side person. Take that for what it's worth. But now you get to bring in some of those people. So I do think that is going to make players feel a little bit better, but I also think those are distractions. I think, for example, if you LeBron James, you've been in this bubble doing your thing for so long, and then your precious baby, your 4 or 5 year old little girl coming there, daddy, that is a distraction. I don't care who you are, unless you're a cold-blooded son of a boop, that is a distraction. Unless you're going to look at your daughter in the face and say, hey, I don't care, daddy don't care about that. I'm locked in. Get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? If you that type of person, then that won't be a distraction. But for the average person that got kids, you know what I'm saying? We see these players when they at the microphone after a game and they got their kids with them and the kid doing all this. I've never seen one dude out there with the kid that just keep talking through the interview like the kid ain't there. Kid slapping the microwave, doing all this, trying to talk, all this extra stuff. It's a distraction. So with that said, I just want to throw out that little tidbit. But as far as the topic goes, Philly get one. Like, let's be real here. You take Joel Embiid. I ask you this, Jay. You put these two teams together 5-by-5. You can't add Ben Simmons because he's not playing. Give me your top 3 players from this series.
I'd go Embiid 1, and then I'd go Tatum 2, and then third, I'd go Jaylen Brown 3.
Right. Okay. I'm same here. The reason I bring that up is because when you start going check, Boston got a lot of advantages. Coach, Boston. Overall star. You got to go with Philly because of Embiid. But then when you do 2, 3, 4, possibly 5, I don't know when you get back to Philly. When do you get to Tobias Harris?
Yeah, I would take Kemba and Gordon Hayward before I go back to Philly.
Exactly. That's my point. So when I look at all that, it's very hard for me to see Philly winning more than one game. I would give them one game because I think even if Boston go up 3-0, they get a little lackluster, little lackadaisical. a little complacent, and then they sandbag and Philly get one or whatever the case might be, and then they close it out for one. So yeah, man, that's my theory on that. I just don't see a lot coming from the 76ers standpoint. Even with Ben Simmons there, I just didn't. I wasn't a believer, and now without him now, I'm definitely not a believer. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Boston at 5 for that series.
Yep, completely agree. Boston wins this series in 5. I think Embiid's good enough to get him a game, and I think when you look at a traditional superstar, Embiid's a superstar talent, but he's not. I don't think he's going to give you the consistency that you're looking for to carry you throughout an entire series. I mean, he's going to get caught up. I think not having fans there is actually good for Embiid, but he's still going to find a way to get caught up in something. Like he's going to look at the virtual fans and start yapping at them. Like something like that's going to happen. But in all seriousness, no, you talk about Embiid's the best player in this series, but on down the line, Boston's got those 4 B to B plus players I always talk about. And Jason Tatum right now in my mind, he's an A- level player. So they've got their own superstar level player that can carry the load. We know how good Jaylen Brown is. And when you got Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward as your 3rd and 4th best options, I mean, this is a series that you should handle rather easily. And as far as the depth of these teams, I haven't been crazy about Philly's depth all year. I mean, when your best outside shooting option is Furkan Korkmaz, I mean, you can go ahead and forget about it. And then Marcus Smart as your 6th man for Boston, you know all the intangibles that he's going to provide you out there. And then think about – and his three-point shooting is much improved. We got to give him some credit for that. And then the coaching matchup, in my estimation, it's a mismatch. Brad Stevens over Brett Brown by miles.
Yeah, I kind of got the same thing as you guys were thinking here. I just can't expect a lot from Philly in the series. It feels kind of disappointing too because there was so much of this talk. Oh, they're changing stuff up. They're moving Ben Simmons, and we're going to get all this different changes. And then it just feels like we're getting the same thing we've always had with them. And that's kind of, I guess, a little disappointing. But whatever. Obviously, no Simmons. That hurts a lot. And but for what it's worth, they weren't doing well with him anyway in this restart. They got outscored by 7.3 points per 100 when he was on the court, and we're actually outscoring people by 3.7 per 100 without him. So I don't know how much he's actually going to matter, but it kind of speaks more to the Phillies' just disjointment overall, not just with or without him.
The biggest question I have in this series is afterwards, does Brett Brown get fired or not? That's the biggest question. You're talking about, oh, yeah, bubble. Yeah, we got this bubble restart, and Ben Simmons, he's going to move to power forward. Well, that's a whole bunch of nothing. And now but now do you have a built-in excuse? Like, oh, well, Ben got hurt, so that's why we couldn't do it. No, well, you weren't going to do it. I think you were going to do it regardless.
I think Brett Brown is gone. It's because whether it's a bubble or not, it's a first-round exit. Okay, yes, you lost Simmons. But you wasn't doing anything when you had both of them. If I'm the owner, because the GM might be in trouble too. So if I'm the owner and I'm sitting down at the table, I'm like, listen, what was you doing when you had him? Like, don't give me the bull crap that he wasn't here. And then, I got some smart guy crunching the numbers like Cody next to me. Hey, what's the numbers on it? And then, listen, these are your numbers. You see this? This is black and white. So I think he's gone. I don't see – why do you bring him back? If you're not in the NBA Finals, why do you bring them back?
I think they've reached their ceiling with Brett Brown.
It does feel like that, or at least with this Embiid Simmons combo. I think that might get broken up as well. Yeah. But for the Celtics, it's really simple. Is Jason Tatum is he gonna be the All-Star we know he can be in the playoffs? Is he keep that up? I think if he is, and Jaylen Brown plays well, and the rest of that team doesn't go complete potato, then they've got a good shot at beating anybody in the East any night. But if you see Tatum and Brown starting to struggle, it's going to be a problem. But I don't think it'll be an issue for him in this series, even with the best player in Philly. I think the Celtics win this in 5.
And to that note, I wanted to get this in. Jason Tatum versus the Philadelphia 76ers this year is shooting 8 for 22, 5 for 18, and 4 for 13. But all these games were played January 9th or prior, and we know Jason Tatum post All-Star break is a different player. So that I don't expect those shooting numbers to replicate themselves.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the 4-5 matchup, Jay. That's going to be, of course, Miami taking on Indiana. So can this young, talented Heat team, can they cool off TJ Warren and the Pacers? What do you think?
Well, you better believe it, because Miami going to roll in there with the one of the best players in the NBA. We can say that. Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's going to come up there, give you that all-around game. One of the best two-way players that we got in the game today. Going to give you about, 20 or 21 points with 6-7 assists, 6-7 rebounds. Going to give you that all-around action. And TJ Warren, I've been telling you about this whole bubble thing. Some of what we're seeing is not real. So TJ Warren, is he going to average 30 or 40 points in a series when teams are now they're going to be focusing on him. TJ Warren is going to be the focal point based off what we've got. And remember, doesn't look like Sabonis is going to be available. We know Victor Oladipo is still rounding into shape, it appears. And we got a lot of respect for Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner. But Miami's going to come in there with their two all-stars, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. And then I told you about this. They got shooters just everywhere, whether Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero. I hate to say it, but my God, Kelly Olynyk going to come out there and bomb some threes for you. It's just going to happen. So when you take all that in consideration, and they got Jay Crowder out there looking good, like he did when he was with Boston. And don't forget the old Wiley. And don't forget the old Wiley veteran, Andre Iguodala. He's going to be good for something and help you out on the defensive end and provide that veteran leadership that they need. And to me, their depth is a big advantage over Indiana. I don't like Indiana's depth outside of their starting five. Keep this in mind. Miami, second in the league in three-point shooting percentage. Indiana was at 14th, but Indiana is also last in the league in three-point attempts. So I think three-point shooting is going to be a big advantage for Miami in this series, and I think they win it in 6.
Cody, let me ask you this. I heard the lead-in, as fantastic as it is. I do have a question. Is Indiana a hot team, or is TJ Warren a hot player?
Indiana definitely was making noise in the bubble. They feel like the team that's kind of ascending right now with Oladipo's health kind of coming in and Warren going off.
So what you're telling me is if you take Warren out of the process, Indiana's still a hot team?
I would say they're cooler, yes.
Cooler.
They're warm.
And the reason I ask is because I'm with Jay. Like, I'm hearing all this stuff about TJ Warren in the bubble. But before the bubble, TJ Warren was what I would equivalent to a $3 bill. He didn't exist. He played, but he wasn't all this bull crap I'm hearing, like TJ Warren. Listen, to me, a hot team is the Phoenix Suns. They won all 8 of their games. You know what I'm saying? That's a hot team. Me, I just feel like Indiana was a team. If it was TJ Warren and Victor Oladipo doing this, then I'll be like, all right, now we got something cooking. But I'm just not a believer in this Pacers team when your leader is TJ freaking Warren. I'm just not into it, and I don't think this team is going to give Miami I don't think this is a competitive series because I just think Miami as a team is way better. Oh, and by the way, that star that's leading Miami happens to be in disagreement with TJ Warren. So you know what time it is, baby. When you roll up, you better be ready to lace them up because I'm coming. And not to mention, I look at the likes of like Jay said, the shooting, but I look at Nunn and Adebayo, and I look and I'm like, if Nunn, that I don't think he's all that I do think he was a finalist for the Rookie of the Year and all that good stuff. Kudos to him. But if he gets hot, who do Indiana you stop him with? Who else do Indiana build this momentum around if TJ Warren ain't dropping that off in them for him? Who I don't know. Because I can look at Miami and say, if Jimmy Butler's not having a good game, you better hope Adebayo is doing what he's doing at a high level. But I can see that. He was an all-star. I can see him playing better. You better hope Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero is making shots. Well, I can see them making shots. I can see them making more shots. Oh, you better hope. My point is, I just think Miami is built for this. Oh, and by the way, when all the chips are on the table and you're looking at both of these teams, I have nothing against Nate McMillan, but I think Eric Spoelstra is the better coach. So you talking about drawing up a last, play or whatnot. I think Eric Spoelstra got him now. He's been in the biggest spots. You know what I'm saying? I think he's the better coach at this point. Nate McMillan is not bad at anything. I just think Eric Spoelstra is the better coach. I think Miami has the better leader in this situation that can rally the troops better. I think Miami is deeper than Indiana, as Jay said. So it's very hard. It's kind of like the first conversation. It's very hard for me to see where Indiana really, really push this to 6 or 7 games. So, yes, I'm going to go with Miami in 5. I give T.J. Warren the crack at doing enough to get 1 game, 1 win, but that's about it.
This is a similar situation, oh, by the way, to how Indiana looked last year, where they were like competitive in all the games, but they couldn't close because they didn't have Victor Oladipo. It's the same situation. They're incomplete again because no Sabonis, who was their all-star, and Victor Oladipo is not at his peak performance. If they had Sabonis and Oladipo was more like the Oladipo that we've seen carry Indiana for long stretches, then this would be a 7-game pick'em series. But that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of I guess that's the real problem with the Pacers is you really have a volatile mix up. I mean, you could get 40 points per game, TJ Warren. Victor Oladipo could, be getting healthier and get back to that all-star level he can play at. And, Turner can lock you down on defense. And then, if all those questions come out positive, then, I mean, I can see the Pacers being that perfect storm team that actually makes a little bit of a run. But that's a lot of ifs, and without Sabonis, you're right, that does pull him back. So if they had Sabonis, I would consider picking Indiana in the series. But without him, I think Miami's going to get it done. I'm a little concerned about Miami. There are a lot of rookies on this team. I know they got the coach, they got Jimmy Butler, they got some veteran leadership around them. But this is the first time these lights are bright and really on them, and you never know when you got young guys how they're gonna respond. But yeah, I think Miami is deeper. They got more tools in the toolbox. They've got they check a lot of boxes. And Jimmy Butler is probably gonna put the clamps on TJ Warren. I mean, I would love to see him put down 40 a game just because it's cool to see. But I gotta think Jimmy Butler's probably got something to say about that. So yeah, I've got the Heat, but I do have him in 7. So we'll see.